Becky Liddon, I'm founder of Sensory Spectacle. This video is part of a series where I'm answering your questions about sensory processing difficulties. I've been given questions from parents and professionals, and it's all to help create a better understanding and awareness of sensory processing difficulties. Share the videos with your friends and families and colleagues, but also subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you don't miss any. So I know some people who could just eat and eat and eat and maybe not recognise when they're full. I also know some young people who could drink and they will just drink water for most of their day and maybe not seem to eat much. Now, our recognition of hunger and thirst comes from our interoceptive sense. So it's internal messages that help us to know when we're hungry and when we're thirsty and when our body needs those nutrients. So those internal messages for some people with sensory processing difficulties may be difficult to recognise. So some people may not recognise that feeling of full, so could carry on eating their dinner and have seconds and have thirds. Some people may just seem to snack all the time, whereas other people, you might notice, will have a tiny piece of their dinner and then be full and say that they're full and not want to eat anymore because they're feeling that fullness. So for people with sensory processing difficulties, we know that there's different thresholds, there's different amounts of information that we recognise as individuals as part of our characteristics. So some people may need a lot of sensory input, so a lot of food in order to recognise that they're full, whereas other people might only need a little bit before sensory messages are starting to tell them that they're full. That's exactly the same with thirst. So we know that for people who find it difficult to recognise hunger and thirst, it can relate to those internal messages and understanding what that means. But we also know, because of those internal sensations from our interoceptive sense, it can also be that external stimulation can override that internal feeling. So it may well be that actually this environment's far too overwhelming through sound, so I'm hypersensitive to sound, that actually I find it really difficult to recognise when I'm full. One girl that works with me describes that when she's eating in a busy, in a noisy restaurant, she finds it difficult to recognise when she's full. So often when she's out eating, she doesn't eat much, or she recognises that she eats lots because she just hasn't recognised that she's got full. And so then when she's travelling home or when she's in a different space, she recognises, oh my goodness, I'm so full, because the sound was overwhelming her body for her to recognise those internal messages. And that can happen with any of our sensory systems. So there could be many reasons as to why someone you know may find it difficult to recognise if they're hungry or thirsty, but we need to understand also there's an emotional attachment to those internal sensations again. So we know that people get hangry, they get angry when they're hungry, and some people can recognise that in themselves, whereas other people need to be made aware of that by us saying to them, oh, I think you might need to eat something now. So we need to recognise that within the people that we love and support as well with sensory processing difficulties.